No.
This book is the product of the fucking dark arts. Look, it's even got a wizard right on it. And it spawned a multi-million-dollar industry which is in its 5th iteration in the real world. But it all started here. Back when you can go to a Kinko's, or whatever the fuck the 70s had, print off a couple thousand pages, bind them up with that shitty-ass plastic, and then sell them for $5 a pop next to your local CIA crack dealer. Now, I haven't had any personal experience using Chainmail, or apparently its various editions, but as the prototype for Dungeons & Dragons, I can't help but wonder what mechanics lie underneath. My buds and I, between our visceral death matches, would often use these books to escape reality into a far more tame realm, where one could break the bonds of slavery and take up a simple life of farming. Unfortunately, my friends were dying off quicker than their characters, so we never really got past level 9. Looking at the cover, we see some Mountain Blade fan art with that famed demonologist Gary Gygax and discarded pawn Jeff Perrin as authors for this tome. Cracking this bad boy open, we see some hardcore art by Don Lowry, as well as a table of contents mimicking the iconic Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st edition style. Look at the dramatic lighting in this picture, backs against the rising sun, hard to make out figurines standing in boxy formations. What a far cry from individual-oriented games of greed to come. The introduction dashes all your hopes and dreams of peace by stating war has dominated mankind's mind to the point of trivializing it into a game. It then goes on to say some weird shit about making your own terrain using an arcane tool known as a sand table, and how plastic has an abject grasp on morality based on black magic and poorly explained mechanics. Overall, this introduction is clearly aimed for people who already know how to play war games. While it starts off with a friendly bit of words and some explanations, it introduces rules and complex concepts so alien to a layman. I mean, take a look at this. The mental and physical condition of the men, or morale, is taken into consideration in this game. Morale is checked before and after combat, based on the determination of a historical precedent, just as the fighting ability in actual cases was drawn upon to calculate melee results. So what's morale exactly? Being a fast and loose pamphlet of only 44 pages, it can be forgiven if we have to jump around a bit to match up the rules, but the wording of this shit is almost Tolkien-esque. I mean, here, read this shit. When casualties from any and all causes exceed a certain percentage of a unit's original total strength, morale for that unit must be checked by rolling 2 dice. If the loss is brought below the set percentage by missile fire, the unit must check before the melee portion of the turn. If the loss is brought about by melee, the unit must check morale after melees have been completed for that turn. If the unit remains stable, it need not check again until such a time as it suffers loss. Shit, you fucking get the idea, right? I mean, my whole point is that this paragraph reads like a philosophy freshman's first term paper. No drunk teenager ready to toss some D20s would be able to decipher how this mechanic works, let alone your average 40-year-old Trump supporter. So I hope you passed 8th grade math and finished your literature degree. It's clear this game needs to be learned through practice instead of just reading the manual. A luxury I don't have because of the lack of a sand table. After the initial introduction is another one saying that this isn't a real history book on medieval shit, but rather an excellent set of rules simulating medieval combat, which is a pretty bold claim for a game using dice to simulate ancient war. However, there is one very important thing to take away from this page. Follow the spirit of the rules rather than the letter. So there, Gygax has been preaching this long before D&D was ever a thing, so quit power gaming and turning D&D into fucking math. Just enjoy the goddamn game with your fucking friends for once. Anyways, Chainmail follows this theme of complex wording for vague systems throughout its entirety, and it comes off very dry and difficult. I mean, just look at some of these tables really quick. And here's some quick words just out of context.
Arquebusers, a soldier armed with an arquebus or ancient gun. Oblique, neither parallel nor at a right angle, slanting. Dow, a peg of wood, metal, or plastic. Windage, the effect of wind on a missile. Bombard, to attack continuously with bombs, shells, or other missiles. Rout, a disorderly retreat of defeated troops. Impetus, the force or energy with which a body moves. Mantlets, a bulletproof screen for a soldier.
Alright, so no doubt you can figure out these words in context, but it's clear only a 1970s rich dad had the education and could afford all those pewter pikemen required for this game. But if you manage to survive until page 28, we can finally see some light at the end of the tunnel. Fantasy in this realistic simulation. There are brief explanations on the races and the spells being equated to different siege engines. And there's then these results for certain creatures and hero types, like superheroes. Notice that the rules are still in a wargame sense, with forcing units back and other shit that I don't fucking understand. There are also a whopping 16 spells included, with such staples as Cloud Kill and Protection from Evil. Sadly, still no magic missile. And look at that, 5 different types of spellcasters, but no clerics. Skipping down a bit, we can see the beginnings of the alignment system, with Gygax basically making the protection from evil spell useless by saying it's impossible to define good and evil. Now we get the rest of our mechanics from charts and tables. Looking at Appendix D, we can see special abilities with elves and wizards looking OP as shit. These kind of tables don't really go away in first edition, but they're largely simplified in second edition, and they completely melt away in later editions. As you can see, this whole thing is a mess for normal role players. This is something a Warhammer fan might find novel, but other than collecting for shits and giggles, I'd just wait 3 years for the original Dungeons & Dragons to be released. So let's just toss this shit in the fire and move on with our pitiful lives until the Messiah delivers our actual salvation.